Hi, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. Thank you so much for subscribing. And I have to say, I have the best subscribers. You guys are awesome. And in fact, one of my subscribers asked me to review this movie specifically. So here it is, just for you. And you know who you are. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is Chick Fight. I'm not sure how this one slid under the radar and I missed it. So many movies have been coming out that I'm having a hard time keeping up with them all. But anyway, I finally watched it just for you. The movie is rated R. It's an hour and 37 minutes. And the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is a B+. Now, I'll explain why. And there's a big viewer beware warning. So let me get to that. First of all, I'm retitling this movie Fight Club with Estrogen. So Redbox Entertainment actually premiered Chick Fight back in November. But as I said, I never had a chance to watch it. And by the way, I think this is the first movie that I've seen that was premiered by Redbox Entertainment. So I love that they're getting into the game. That just means more fun movies for all of us, right? So while this movie is funny and celebrates sisterhood, sort of, it can also be extremely offensive to some viewers. So check out my tip for parents here coming up because they definitely apply to sensitive or conservative viewers. So here are the tips for parents and sensitive viewers. And I fit in that category too. I'm just saying. First of all, the movie starts off, and one of the first things you see is a woman sitting on the toilet. So, you see her skin, basically. You hear sounds of aggressive lovemaking in the room next door. And there's tons of crude conversations and gestures throughout the entire movie. There's a lot of talk about sexual fluidity. There's lots of homosexuality displayed and discussed in graphic terms. Two women smoke a joint. There's lots of profanity. There's violence with blood. I mean, it's, people fighting. And so you see blood flying and stuff like that, and blood on their faces and cuts and stuff. You see some skimpy outfits and lots of cleavage. A woman flips the bird. You see lots of irresponsible behavior and just women who are terrible role models for girls, honestly. So that alone should give you a little bit of a warning. Before you watch this movie, watch the trailer. And if you think, I don't know if that looks like my thing, just take those things into consideration. So this is definitely not a movie you're going to want to sit and watch with your family because it's really not appropriate for kids. Now, there are, however, some very positive themes worth mentioning that the movie illustrates. One of the big messages is face who you are and what you're capable of. Other ones are always show up, family, anger, and how to deal with it in a constructive way, friendship, sisterhood. And there are two lines that Alec Baldwin's character states. It's funny because he's like the drunk of the movie, and yet he has probably the lines with the most wisdom in them. Anyway, one of them he says is, the only thing that separates fear from bravery is one small step. And then another line is, never back down. Now, I might argue with that. There are times where you should back down for the sake of peace, but he means that just don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. All right, so let me tell you about the things I liked, and then I'll tell you about the things I didn't like in the movie. First of all, there's just something about Malin Ackerman that I've always really liked. Her character in this film is also very likable and charming, winning you over almost instantly. So that's really good. It's especially good since she's the protagonist of the movie. Bella Thorne is also in the movie and just looks fierce and amazing, actually. Now, if you enjoy her performance in this movie, you might be interested in also checking out a movie she just pumped out last month called Girl. It's a really different kind of movie than this one, but she gives an equally excellent performance. Now, I've never seen Dulce Sloan's stand-up comedy, but I can imagine it's probably pretty crude. She was very crude in this movie, but she is definitely the comic relief and the sidekick in this movie. And she offers actually kind of a nice balance between Malin Ackerman's character, who's constantly in frustration mode, and more of the serious, although she is super goofy as well. Alec Baldwin, as I mentioned, it does comedy and drama equally well. One of my favorite movies of his is The Hunt for Red October. That's an older movie, so if you're a younger viewer, you should check that out. Well, you might think it's really old, but it actually is really good. It's got Sean Connery in it, so I love it. There are some really good and funny slow motion action sequences where I was like, wow, how did they do that? That was pretty impressive. There's a really fun and beautiful beach town vibe. And I read that the movie was actually filmed in Puerto Rico. I've been to Puerto Rico and it is just lovely and beachy and fun. So it made me feel like I was traveling, and I love to travel. So keep watching during the rolling credits for just a few minutes, because then you get to see a few other little things. Now, to the things that I didn't really like. First of all, this movie really offers a very different take on female empowerment, which honestly kind of saddened me. Instead of just helping women feel more confident, fighting appeared to turn some of them into mean, violent men. There's no respect for women who are soft, gentle, loving, or kind. And it seems rare are the movies nowadays that actually do value women of virtue. So Margaret D. Nadal delivered an excellent speech many years ago that I watched her give, entitled The Joy of Womanhood. And I've never forgotten this one quote. And I'm going to share it with you. So just humor me. I got to get this off my chest. She said, and boldly stated, the world has enough women who are tough. We need women who are tender. The world has enough women who are coarse. We need more women who are kind. There are enough women who are rude. We need women who are refined. We have enough women of fame and fortune. We need more women of faith. We have enough greed. We need more goodness. We have enough vanity. We need more virtue. We have enough popularity. We need more purity. And that's the quote that kind of kept running through my mind the entire time while I was watching this movie, because these women are just mean and tough, and that's valued in the film. And I get it. I have learned how to do some of those things myself and taken classes for years. I have a black belt in Taekwondo, so I get it. But there's also, but I think it was the vicious meanness of, I think I heard the B word that rhymes with witch a million times in this movie. We have enough of those in the world too. So for that reason alone, I didn't give it an A and recommend it to everybody, because not everybody is going to really enjoy the humor in this movie. Now, also, another thing is that I didn't feel any chemistry at all between the romantic leads. The romance factor for me was a zero. I thought that the casting was off, and just that there was no chemistry at all, and that the story itself wasn't built on anything but, physical attraction, I guess. And that only goes so far. The movie itself follows a formula. It's very predictable. There is some really terrible dialogue that made me just kind of shudder. But I get the humor, and I definitely get the value in standing up for yourself and being brave and having courage and doing hard, scary things. So don't get me wrong. Now, there were a lot of funny lines. Again, most of them laden with profanity, but I always write down the interesting lines and funny lines on my written movie review at moviereviewmom.com. So you can run over there and check those out, but I'll share just a couple of them with you right now. So first of all, Charlene, who's played by Dulce Sloan, who's great. She plays a lesbian cop, and so she says to her best friend, Anna, who's played by Malin Ackerman, and she says, "Do you trust me?" And Anna says, "Of course not." And then Charlene says, yeah, good instincts. And then I always get a kick out of movies that reference other movies. And so Anna is watching these two girls fight, and she looks at one of them and she says, she's like Neo in the Matrix. Now, the action sequences aren't quite as epic as The Matrix, but some of them actually are pretty good. And then there's another character whose name is Bear, and she's this big, brawly woman played by Fortune Feimster. And she says, underneath this big, hairy chest is an even bigger heart. Anyway, and that was sweet. There is definitely heart to the movie. Now, before we go, I want to give you a couple of recommendations for other movies that you might like. One is Fight Club, which is a classic, and that's why I said this movie is like Fight Club, but with estrogen. Now, they could have dug deeper in this movie and really explored more about the whole female psyche, but if you liked Fight Club and you're a woman, you might really enjoy this movie. And then another movie that's being compared to this movie in tone is Bridesmaids. And I throw that out there not because I loved it and recommend it, because I didn't love it. And again, it was just too crude for my personal taste. But if you thought that movie was awesome, you're definitely going to think this movie is awesome. Now, if you saw that movie and you were a little like, nah, how about showing some class, girls? Then you're probably going to want to skip this movie because you're going to feel the same way about the characters in this movie. All right, that is it for today. Again, thank you so much for subscribing, and be sure and like this video because YouTube gives me YouTube juice when I get lots of likes, and I really appreciate that. And if you really appreciate what I'm trying to do here by giving you the heads up so that you can find out if a movie is worth your time or your money, run over to Patreon and you can support me there. I've got lots of prizes and gifts on different tier levels that you can choose from. All right, that's it for today. I will catch you in the next movie review. Bye for now.